how is blockchain going to change the real estate world? How's it going to impact the real estate world?
Well, I think it's already impacting it. I mean, at the end of the day, what blockchain technology really does is it leads to a few things. So for us, the reason why I joined Invenium is what it does is it creates transparency. How does it do that? Well, it credentials data, right? Verifies data. Blockchain, what does it really do? It's just saying that, this document, belongs to this person, this building, whatever it may be. It creates real data that allows you to make real decisions on real information, expedites those decisions, makes it more efficient. But at the end of the day, really, it's transparency. That, to me, that is the key. Sure, eventually you can talk about how it creates liquidity, how the tokenization of real estate provides liquidity. But I think that's, next stage, next phase. For right now, I just think it's helping provide accuracy and transparency.
How do you see it impacting the actual closing process, documents, recording, acquisitions, dispositions, refinancing, that kind of stuff?
Well, I think it definitely it can be a game changer. Obviously, you need some regulatory changes to allow that. But I make the example of a notary, for example, right? The closing documents always need a notary. Well, a notary really is a person that you've never met before, that you're handing your license to, and they're saying, looking at your picture and saying, okay, yeah, that is Sam Grossman. He's going to sign it.
Yeah, it's real legit, right?
Real legit. So if I were to tell you we could use blockchain technology to make that process a lot more accurate, not to mention expedite the closing process, I don't think there'd be a lot of people in the room that would say, no, I don't want to do that. Again, it's the same concept of accuracy. And I think that, that really at the end of the day is what blockchain technology can bring to real estate across, every facet, whether it's a closing, whether it's a transaction, whether it's a buy or a sell. That's really what it has the ability to do, is that it can verify both parties. It can replace, the proof of funds, the POF in an offer. It solves, in my opinion, a lot of the back and forth that prolongs the transaction itself, whether it's the negotiating or actually the closing itself. The contracts, I mean, you got smart contracts now. So, the days of handwriting and showing up to a showing with a blank offer, well, it's kind of a thing of the past, right? So DocuSign replaced a lot of that, but I think blockchain can add to that just a whole nother level of security and clarity.
Do you think it stands to replace title companies, at least as we know them now?
I don't think blockchain replaces anything. I don't think it's like I say all the time, Invenium isn't going to replace the AppFolios, the Real Pages of the world. It's going to enhance it. Blockchain has the ability to enhance, not replace. And I think that's a key, factor for everyone to understand, is that it doesn't necessarily need to replace to make things better, to improve. It can disrupt in a good way, right? So blockchain is disruptive, but it's disruptive in a good way. And why is that? Because it disrupts the nature of the industry in that it can solve its inadequacies. Mm-hmm. It can just make things more efficient and more effective. Listen, I was not a believer. I was a client of Invenium before I, had a position with it, before I was out there, selling the platform and selling the concept of blockchain. 6 months ago, I didn't know what blockchain was. I didn't know what crypto was. We all know what people think when they hear those words. I don't utter those words anymore. I try to stick to blockchain, but it's really just a token. And what's a token, right? It's a digital verification. So everyone in this world is really trying to get clarity, is trying to get a better way of getting from point A to point B that's cost effective, but allows them to make that decision more efficiently with better data for a better outcome. And to me, that's what blockchain is. And
I was really with you. And you can go back in threads where I was making fun of Bitcoin and crypto. And just humbly speaking, it was a lack of education. That's just one facet. Blockchain's really the highway that those what would you call them, features travel on. So blockchain is the big apple. From a platform standpoint, where do we need to get to where we can start buying tokenized securities, actual real estate, just like you would a stock trade, like where it's seconds, no delay, and it's that seamless from an end-to-end like user experience?
First, I'd like to make it very clear. I in no way am an expert in talking about anything securities wise. And if you're asking me my opinion of the next step of how tokenized real estate works, it really is from a refi standpoint. It's tokenizing an asset that you already own. It's recapturing equity. It's refinancing capital stacks. I'm not a proponent of raising money to purchase real estate from a tokenized standpoint. I believe that the proof of concept and the education to the market is imperative to do it the other way around. I think you can tokenize assets that you already own and provide liquidity to your current investor base.